everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So before we get into today's video, I have two things that I want to briefly talk about. The second thing I want to say really quickly is in reference to how this video is going to be formatted, because usually I'll have like 5 or 10 points and then I'll just talk about each point, but this video is going to be a little different because I don't really have like points to talk about. It's kind of just like a really long answer to a very complicated question, or a series of questions that are kind of intertwined, I guess. Anyways, this will not be structured as usual. I hope you don't mind. I tried to structure it and then I realized it just wouldn't make sense. So we're just going to do it this way and hope for the best. So first of all, let's talk about how long your beta reader process should take, which is the main part of this video. So this is going to depend on two main things. Number one, how long you want each cycle to take, and number two, how many cycles you're gonna have. And I don't remember which video, but I'm fairly certain that in a past video in the series I said that I would recommend to at least have 2 rounds of beta readers. I believe that was in my beta reader basics video, but I'm not quite sure. Actually, after recent thought and like reflection and stuff, I actually think that I would say 3 cycles at a minimum. The reason for this is I would recommend 2 at the very least to find all of the issues with your book, with your betas, but the third one is kind of like a check. It's kind of just to make sure there are no more issues, and if there are more issues, then maybe have a 4th or 5th round just in case. But personally, I prefer to have at least 5 rounds of beta readers, so that means ideally I'm finding all of the issues in the first 4 rounds, and then the 5th round is kind of just a check, just to make sure that there's no other problems. And with each round of beta readers, you're also going to need to decide how many betas you are going to want for each round. So this will vary from person to person, but I would recommend having at least 10 betas, but I would prefer to have somewhere between 10 and 15 betas for each round. And make sure you have backup betas. That's why I try and have 15 betas for each round, even though my goal is 10, because that way you are somewhat prepared if your betas decide to drop out, because trust me, they will drop out. It happens to everyone. And this is so fucking important when it comes to how many betas that you're going to have each round, because let's say that one beta says that they hate your MC. Now, it depends how many betas you have in that cycle. If you only have 2 betas, then that's half of your betas saying that they hate your MC. But if you have 10 betas, that's just 1 out of 10 saying that they hate your MC, which means that you can probably take their advice with a grain of salt, because, well, everyone else loved the MC and they hated them, so they are the odd one out. And this is why you need to have a large group of people reading your book at once, because then it is so much easier to notice trends. Listen, everyone makes the mistake of not enlisting enough beta readers at some point. Well, not everyone, but I would say it's really, really common, because for my first round, I only had, I think, like 3 beta readers, so that wasn't very smart on my part. So trust me, you're gonna want to have more than 3 betas at one time. You're probably gonna want to have somewhere between 10 and 15. And as far as your timeline goes, I would recommend setting up your timeline based on 2 things. Number 1, how many chapters your book has, and then number 2, how many chapters you want to send at once. And if you're not sure about how many chapters to send at once, here are the 2 things that you want to think about. Number 1, how in-depth do you want the feedback to be? And number 2, how long your chapters are. So you're probably there thinking, Kylie, don't I need in-depth feedback for every cycle? Well, yes. So I will get into the individual questions that I asked my beta readers at a later time, but basically in my earlier rounds I asked my betas about every single character and every single scene, along with some other questions. So for me, the feedback that I need in the first like 1 or 2 rounds is going to be a lot more in-depth and focus a lot more on the specific characters and scenes then in the later rounds, because once I've gotten past those initial rounds, I can kind of tell when I'm at a point where, okay, people really like these characters, but we're still not sure about these characters, so I can take these characters out of the questions but still leave these ones in, because I still need to know what people are thinking about them and to see if I need to make any further adjustments. And then we have the length of your chapters. So as a general rule of thumb, I would say, especially in the earlier rounds, to send anywhere from 1 to 5 chapters at once, and this is really going to depend on your word count, but I would say if you have longer chapters, send 1 chapter at a time, and then if you have shorter ones, send somewhere between 3 and 5. And if your chapters vary, just try and get an average. Personally, what I did is I actually went through all of my chapters and I wrote down the word count for each one of them, and then I calculated the average based on that. So if you're a math person like me, you might want to do something like that. I actually found that really helpful. And you can also come up with a time frame based on how long you want the process to take. For example, let's say that you want your beta round to last for 2 months. Let's say that you have 32 chapters in your book. Then you could divide 32 by 8, since there are 8 weeks in 2 months, just about. And then you would see that you only need to send about 4 chapters a week to your beta readers. Now, this wouldn't be a hard rule of thumb, because, for example, if you have a little bit longer chapters, then you might want to dial that back to 2 or 3, but again, that would affect your time frame. I wouldn't worry about time frame as much, and I would try and focus more on how much in-depth feedback you need, because personally, I would much rather for my beta process to take a little bit longer than I planned, and for it to still be super thorough, than for it to go short, but my betas give me super vague and not very helpful answers. So while you can definitely take your time frame into consideration, and it's probably very important that you do so, I just wouldn't decide things solely based on your time frame, if that makes sense. And also, don't be afraid to make adjustments to your schedule as needed. For example, for my 3rd round of beta readers, I actually wanted to send more chapters than I am right now, and I wanted that to go on for about a month. But actually, now that I am actually in the thick of my beta reader process, I am deciding to have that go for at least 2 months, if not more. And that's just because my book is honestly a lot more rough than I originally thought it was. So that just means that my next beta round is going to have to last a little bit longer, because it's more important to me that I'm getting that in-depth feedback than that I still finish that round in just a month. So don't be afraid to adjust your schedule in order to make the beta rounds more helpful for you, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you are getting good feedback on your book. So if it lasts a little bit longer than you originally anticipated, that's completely fine. So yeah, that's my video on how long the process should be and how many cycles you should have and all that good shit. I hope this was helpful, and if you enjoyed today's video, please give this video a big thumbs up and hit that big red subscribe button down below and turn on those post notifications. I post every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday this month. Will this continue in the future? Probably not, but for now it's pretty fun. And yeah, that's all that I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and comment down below any questions about beta readers that you have, or any requests for future videos in the series. I would love to hear them, and be sure to stay tuned, because the next video in the series is all about free versus paid betas. I'm not excited to film that, but you know what? It's a video that has to be made. And that's all that I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.